What's up everyone, it's TGSF. So in recent time we've been introduced to the new main villain of the FNAF franchise, being the Mimic. To know the full story of the Mimic, I recommend my other's video on him covering his entire lore and story. But as a quick summary, the Mimic is an endoskeleton created by Edwin Murray for his son as he was quite busy with work and couldn't take care of David himself. The Mimic ran on a program named Mimic 1, made to observe and copy things, notably his David, to have something to play with him which worked well. Slowly the Mimic developed the ability to not only mimic but also respond to someone's action, and developing its personality based on David's. Both liked ice cream and liked dressing with mascot costume. Everything was going well until one day David was playing with his ball and got crushed by a truck and died. Week later, Edwin is still grieving over what happened when the Mimic, still mimicking David, asked him for an ice cream. Mimic reminded Edwin too much of Mimic that in rage, he started beating him with a metal pipe, pouring his rage and agony on the Mimic while also teaching Mimic violence. A few days later a team is sent to claim what Edwin did for Fazbear Entertainment. While doing so the team come across the Mimic and decide to give him legs. However the Mimic respond by killing the team member. Something important to remember about that scene right here is Mimic was not mimicking here and was more acting out of agony. Seeing this to highlight the Mimic isn't just a robot that got taught violence one day and went wild. The Mimic is a supernatural entity itself. The whole mimicking thing is more so an ability than his whole personality. The next full appearance of the Mimic is in Ruin, where in itself, he's a great villain for the DLC. In the DLC we play as Cassie trying to save Gregory, as he's trapped in the Pizzaplex. The situation and reason to why he's trapped is already unclear, but the game slowly build up red flag, the first thing in the DLC that give or at least gave me a red flag. Ignoring the fact about everyone was going to the game with the mindset it clearly a trap, is how early into the game you get introduced to one of the main mechanic, distraction. To do a distraction, help you mimic your voice and use it to repeat what Cassie said, asking if Gregory is here. This raise you awareness Gregory could be mimicked, and this easily could not be Gregory. Next hint is pretty much through the game, what you will mainly notice if you played Security Breach, a lot, enough to realize every time Gregory's line is directly taken from base Security Breach. Concerning me I mainly realized it at the very end when the Grimmick say this stupid door won't open but he does that throughout the whole game. So yeah, a lot of detail slowly build up to the reveal that Gregory is not Mimic but rather something mimicking him, especially for those who read the book and knew about the Mimic, but at the end, when you end up freeing Gregory to realize that is not Gregory, it is too late to realize it. You end up freeing the Mimic, and the real Gregory inform you he is not even in the Pizzaplex. But before explanation, what you need to know is you have get out of here. By the way the Mimic is never really explained. I will get into it later, but all I'll say is I kinda like how he's treated like I said before, an unexplainable entity. Ruin serve as the introduction to the Mimic in the game, so while I wish what we know from him was in the game, something I'll take about later, what we gotta remember is Ruin is the proper introduction to the Mimic. It his debut, sorta. We'll get to it though, but yeah, don't assume he'll go unexplained for the whole story as the Steel Wool era is still ongoing. Something will be explained later. After the chase we know what happened. Gregory, or not Gregory, crashed the elevator. That about what happened in Ruin, and as the antagonist of Ruin alone, he is already great. However Mimic goes even further than a simple DLC villain, as he is the main villain of the era itself. So now it's time to talk about the controversial Glitchtrap and Burntrap. So going way back to Help Wanted, we are introduced to this glitchy rabbit virus, being Glitchtrap, and introduced to multiple hidden tape throughout the game. The tape slowly introduce you to Glitchtrap and his action. You learn Glitchtrap was born after being scanned into the game after the team used some old circuit board. The first one to encounter this creature was a beta tester named Jeremy. Shortly as the story goes we are told how Jeremy seemed to slowly go insane as he plays the game, which led up to him cutting his own face off with a paper guillotine. Tape Girl then take over the beta testing, leading to her to meet Glitchtrap as well. This is when Tape Girl start doing the tape documenting about Glitchtrap and attempting to destroy him, but Glitchtrap simply end up attaching itself to the tape, so Tape Girl decide to destroy the tape and spread them around the game. However this detail is only revealed in the 15 tape out of 16, so when the beta testing reached the next beta tester, Vanessa, the player in Help Wanted, at the end of the game Glitchtrap successfully take over Vanessa, leading to the next game Security Breach. But we won't talk about Vanny here. It's time to talk about Burntrap. In this game Glitchtrap gain a physical form named Burntrap. In this form Burntrap is an endo with reused acid of the Glamrock endo. Remember that, it important, he has an unknown flesh and skull. and finally the burnt body of what seemed to be Spring Bonnie, and after a boss battle he get dragged by the blob and at the end. So when these characters first came out everyone thought they were William who was somehow backed, but when the Mimic came out, we started realizing Glitchtrap and Burntrap may not have been what we thought. Instead of being William himself, it might have been the Mimic I'm mimicking Afton. Let's move on to everything that backed it up. Since I got a video on everything I guess I have a video about debunking retcon in FNAF that go over Mimic. I'd recommend checking it out, and by the way before starting I'll state something that should be obvious and everyone agree with. Glitchtrap and Burntrap are the same or at the very least linked, therefore, if one of them is Mimic or even William, both are automatically said character. Let's start now. Number 1. William Afton is actually physically unable to become Glitchtrap or Burntrap. William in the game is sent to UCN, where he's endlessly tortured by the vengeful spirit. At the end of Fright, William's corpse end up exploding and his remain is the agony or drowned. So here are likely no remain of William Afton, and even if you don't believe Fright, he still get burned in FFPS and is stuck in UCN at the end. So in both way William is doomed, and even if he had some remain that could go on to becoming circuit board, it would be impossible for him to even create a digital form in the first place as it go against how remnant or even agony work. Even if he became a circuit board and possessed it, he would just be stuck in the circuit board not being able to do anything. It make more logical sense for the circuit board to have been scanned to be the Mimic 1 code. It make more sense as it give the reason to why Fazbear Entertainment would scan this random AAA code they found, as a code that Mimic action could be practical for a game, contrary to a random corpse circuit board. Number 2, these two share more characteristic with Mimic than Afton. Starting with Glitchtrap, he use a mascot costume instead of animatronic suit, just like how the Mimic use mascot suit. Both Burntrap and Mimic have a digital form, Glitchtrap and Mimic 1 respectively, so Glitchtrap could be the Mimic 1 form. Glitchtrap's only voice line is literally him mimicking Tape Girl directly. When Edwin destroy the Mimic he's described to cry and drool. Those detail are seen in the Mimic, even on his Princess Quest form, these detail remain. The biggest piece of evidence to me is how in the Help Wanted game file, here is this strange image of Endo named Origin of Glitchtrap. It has straightforward as it can get, so yeah after multiple video trying to prove Mimic is Glitch and Burntrap, I won't try to spend too much time on this section. I read every comment so if you wanna debate about this, leave your grips with Mimic being Glitch and Burntrap, and I'll argue back. So yeah I personally believe Mimic is Glitchtrap and Burntrap. It make more sense to me than two different dude in the exact same era going around doing the same thing. Burntrap's endo has a lot of similarity with Mimic's and most difference can be explained by these fact. Steel Wool said themselves they don't mind redesigning character if that make them cooler. In Ruin we even see that with Candy Cadet, and also, remember when I said to remember Burntrap is basically a bunch of reused acid. Would the Mimic be a good design if it was bunch of reused acid inaccurate to his book description? By the way if he was inaccurate to the book it would add a fuel to the fire about Tails' canonicity, but anyway, I don't wanna waste too much time on this. I recommend again my retcon video, so I'll just say, even if the Mimic was a retcon, does it matter? Is it impossible to enjoy the character because of that? Like for example, Michael being an Afton. To precise I already explained in the retcon video how Michael being an Afton doesn't count, but I don't think it was necessarily planned, but even if it was or not planned, do you find it impossible to like Michael or Crying Child or William? To you to answer, so now I'll review a bit Mimic as a villain. So to start with a bit of negative side, doing the devil advocate here, I do wish most of his lore was at the very least hinted in the game. This alone left a lot of arguments such as people giving him a whole other origin backstory when his full origin is, like right here, for example of a hint, in Ruin you get in a ride and you see a cardboard of a man creating a robot for kids, the kid dying in a car crash, the man beating the robot and something like that. Here I told the Mimic story in a simplified way that make you understand where the Mimic come from, confirm the book or canon, also help the game to not be too dependent of the book, with the book just be something that add up to the full story with more detail and you know what? What I just said literally happened twice in Ruin itself. To tell a fake story of Glamrock Bonnie, and a story of Cassie meeting Gregory, so this is not something that would have been impossible to do, but again, like I said Ruin was the introduction to Mimic, so here's still time to develop him in the game. By the way for those who wanna say I'm contradicting myself by saying Ruin is Mimic's introduction while Mimic is Glitch and Burntrap which would make his introduction in Help Wanted, by introduction it like the first time we see Mimic being himself, taking William as example. Mimic is currently at the same level William was during FNAF 2 or even 3, We knew about him before, but now he reveal himself and is an actual threat to you. But overall the Mimic is a great antagonist, and those who can't access the book, here's a lot of way to access the story. The official wiki give you pretty good and well-written summary of the story. The Reddit Discord does live read early when story come out, or you can even just watch a video. Some argue it not recommended as theorists are often biased, and will pick up only specific part of the story to twist it into their theory, which honestly, skill issue on you then. Not half joking, but for real, the reason I'm saying this is most of these theory biased thing, mean you are the one willingly watching the story in a specific theory instead of a proper video summary, watching a video that clearly not focused on summarizing the story but rather what theories you can get from the theory is as different as watching a theories on a game story while not playing the game. By the way, a possible hot take, in general watching someone play the game, is as different as watching a summary of the book. I know the difference is you are not the one having the experience of the game, but yeah, we also gotta talk about the biased Mimic get while some character, who get the same treatment as him get praised. So remove everything we know from the Charlie novel trilogy or any book and novel and continuity other than the game, only going from the game from 1 to 6, and now tell me everything we know about the cassette man from FNAF 6. He's the father of the puppet, I guess. Maybe his name is HRY from code 223, but how are you sure it even a name and not some code? He seemed to have been old friends of William. I think that genuinely about it. I like being fair, so I will give the credit. Game Henry and book Henry are quite different character with how they act and stuff, and most novel thing just gives some detail to what we didn't know, but it is to be noted without the novel trilogy, he's really random as hell, and even Mimic has the benefit that since he still has a lot of thing to do, maybe we'll get detail on him later, but for Henry he literally come in the end and immediately die. William's name was literally given in the novel, before FNAF 6, since to be fair it straight up dropped PJ Haywood as William Afton and Scraptrap. Tell me, who is this Mr. Afton guy mentioned in the beginning of Sister Location? I guess the one who made the funtime, but is that his only role? You get my point. The book gave us a lot more thing that are accepted and liked now. I also don't get why the community hated William's return, but also hate him being confirmed dead. Like, what do you want at this point? Because at worst, if Mimic suck, he ruined FNAF from Help Wanted to the rest, but the OG timeline is intact. At worst, if Afton is Burntrap and suck, he ruined FNAF 6 ending, Afton's conclusion, multiple rule in the FNAF universe, and more. Afton ruin way more than Mimic could, as it not only affect this timeline but the OG too. Also, something I put on the title is that Mimic improve Afton is an antagonist, so why did I put that in the title? Because I think having antagonists that are inspired by William, and do homage to him, show how much he affected Fazbear's legacy, how much of stain he is to Fazbear, how much of an aura he has while he's literally dead right now, all that keep the whole I always come back while not totally ruining him. His legacy did come back. I also had to mention, while I think William is more interesting and a better antagonist too, and while I also truly hate doing that thing where you disregard the good thing this character has to appreciate another, let not act like if Mimic did not have a clearer backstory than William, who is literally more theory based and we don't even know what happened first that led to his action. Maybe he killed Charlie first out of jealousy randomly, maybe at the bite that made him do it. You see what I mean? So yeah, overall Mimic is a great character, well-written antagonist, and I can't wait to see what next for him. The more human antagonist from William was much more compelling, but I enjoy Mimic's more smart entity approach as a villain. It's fun to also see an actual animatronics villain instead of human, since the animatronics are, kinda the point of the series. And yeah, I think I'm done. That's why I like the Mimic. What do you think about the Mimic? Comment down below. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. I post a video mostly every Friday and Saturday, when I don't procrastinate, and yeah, I'll.